mentioned this ILO WIEGO report that came out in 2017, which had a focus on home-based workers as well as waste pickers. Do you want to just give us a little bit of information on, some of the key?
Sure. I mean, you were very much behind it, and sisters and brothers from the Global Waste Picker Alliance, and the different HomeNet South Asia, Southeast Asia. I know and Africa were very much involved in gathering this information. So different types of SSE units were surveyed for the report that include cooperatives, associations, self-help groups, producer companies, community-based organizations, and I will just maybe share highlights from the home-based workers SSE units. What did they say? They said that, why they formed these units, that they were financial concerns were the reason that they were registering these SSE units. And they indicated that they often adhered to these values and principles of democratic structure, or governance, or member participation, whatever different form they took. And majority reported that their members were paying dues or making contributions, but these were generally insufficient, as members usually have low earnings, which prevent them from contributing significantly. This then brings the question of support from external actors. However, such support can run the risk of making the work organization dependent on these external actors, compromising possibly independent governance and decision making. This was one of the concerns raised. And majority said that SSE units' role was to facilitate the earnings of their members by supporting access to markets, providing them with space to carry out their activities without acting as full-fledged enterprise or employers paying wages. They also provided the members with training and skills upgrading. And these SSE units for home-based workers combine, of course, subcontracting and on-account work. Even when they were saying that if these SSE units, even when they were subcontracted by allied organizations like other co-ops or unions or NGOs, home-based worker these SSE units often had informal subcontracting arrangements, and I think this is an important finding. This report, now that there is also HomeNet International, would be, I think, good to revisit and see. We've used it a lot with waste pickers organizations for training purposes, the findings, but I don't think we've done that for home-based workers. I hope that HomeNet colleagues could share the link. The executive summary is also available in Spanish and Portuguese and French, and perhaps that could be further discussed. Even the surveys could be revisited to see. There is, I think, some rich findings and learning, and a lot of work went into it. So I hope that it can be used. For home-based workers, the training that was provided by this SSE units, the study found was on production skills, training, new equipment, design, accounting, and marketing. And the nature of the training reflected, the constraints the workers face. There was skills upgrading. SSE units also of home-based workers provided leadership training, and very few did occupational safety and health. And actually, we have found this to be true across the board. So we have developed an OSH tool now for cooperatives and producer companies that can be of benefit perhaps to HomeNet also members. So. And we also have recently launched a orientation tool on awareness raising on elimination of child labor among SSE units. And this can again be of interest to HomeNet International members. So the SSE units of home-based workers were assisting in creating scale, like lowering costs of production, buying cheaper inputs, sharing equipment, pooling resources, joint selling of products. But they also negotiated with the suppliers for equipment and machinery. But lowering cost of materials often depended on the size of the order and the importance of the membership size of the SSE unit came up in the study. So this brings up the need again for further consolidation of these SSE units to higher level unions, federations, consortia, as I was mentioning in the example earlier. Another form of economy of scale was generated through sharing of equipment that workers could not acquire by themselves. So sewing and cutting equipment and other related items. And they were networking, these SSE units were networking with other trade unions and social movements and other SSE units at the local and regional levels. Yet I think this was very uneven across countries and regions. So that might be something to look at as well when HomeNet revisits the findings. And one of the things that these SSE units achieved, the study found, was increasing the social visibility of members, especially considering how home-based workers face marginalization and isolation in their work. They help with the self-recognition and social recognition of their worker identity toward building self-representation and collective voice and to engage in negotiation with suppliers, buyers, middlemen. I think there was something, and you know this better than me, so I may not articulate it precisely, but for home-based workers in the SSE units, the buyers could often be employers at the same time, but only a few SSE units indicated that they negotiated with employers. This might be due to not perceiving to have been engaged in an employment relationship or not knowing who the employer is. This is a finding that I think may need to be further explored, revisited. And on negotiating with public authorities, these units advocated through a number of means, and issues involved application of existing laws, inclusion of workers and social security schemes, and access to training and resources. And the economic challenges that these units faced was this issue of scale, needing more scale, and the resources to be able to secure a venue or pay bills or reduce the insecurity and precariousness of their members. And again, you know, if they are too small, then, you know, their bargaining power is not so strong either. So improving this, strengthening these institutions, these units is very important.